Good evening and welcome to your Friday night pod here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew. I'm joined tonight by my very favourite podder, Stevie. Folks, we've had a fun week, obviously. Rangers managing to rack up their worst ever European result, joint worst ever European result earlier in the week. And things haven't exactly looked better since then, unfortunately. Stevie, you were at the press conference today. What did you take away from the manager's comments?
First of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. We've had a podcast every single night this week, Andrew. So I hope that we're not boring people to death. I hope that people are enjoying the content. It's probably more than we actually wanted to do, to be quite honest, but there's been so much going on. We were slightly late today because we were promised a certain young Calvin would be on with us, but he has no-showed. So let's hope it's not a Hansa Igamane situation. And he might join us at some point. But yes, I was at the press conference today. Actually, it's a good time to say today was probably the last press conference I'll be at, Andrew. As you know, I start a new job on Monday. Viewers may remember that last month I was saying that basically work gave me an ultimatum. You either continue doing what you're doing with Rangers or you find a new job, and I found a new job. So it had been 17 years and it was not a great thing to do. So it's a new Monday to Friday challenge working in HR. I'm really excited about it. So that starts on Monday. So it's the last press conference, Andrew. So I went up today just thinking, what's it going to be like? And I'll be honest with you, the manager was very spiky, very spiky. He's a man that knows he's under pressure. He's a man that most likely, dare I say it, Andrew, knows that he's not liked or wanted here. It gave me that exact impression from his press conference. He was pushed on the Nico Raskin situation, which we will discuss, and he was very touchy with it. He was also very cute, Andrew. If there was ever a politician answer given at a Rangers press conference, it was today. Was Nico Raskin in training, and will he be in the squad? And he went on to say Nico Raskin was in training today and is fit and well and available for the squad should he be selected. And he then went on to say that we doesn't know his squad yet and anything can happen while the transfer window is still open. Nico Raskin is not injured. Nico Raskin is fit and well and wants to play for Rangers Football Club. That's all I can say at this moment in time on Nico Raskin situation. And I think that some of the things that are being said towards Nico Raskin is completely untrue. What I would know, Andrew, is Nico Raskin was called up to the Belgian squad today in a midfield that includes Kevin De Bruyne, Yuri Tielemans, Hans van Aken, Charles Van Houte. Now, pronunciations may be terrible, but that's what you get on a Stevie podcast. But if he can manage to start and be involved in a squad like that, I'm unsure of why Nico Raskin can't get into a midfield that basically look like, and no offence to the boys that are in there, look like they've met 10 minutes before we start playing football on a match day. So it is not a good situation for Nico Raskin to be in. It's now been reported that Nico Raskin will not be in the squad on Sunday. I will just simply say on that I don't expect Nico Raskin to be in the squad and to play for Rangers on Sunday. So there's more going on, which isn't a good thing for this football club. And if we go into Sunday the way we did the other night, then it's an accident waiting to happen. But as for the press conference today, he made no comments on the squad, on who was available. He said everybody was available and ready for selection if chosen. He said on incomings and outgoings, we will know as soon as something happens. And he was pretty sharp, Andrew. I asked him if the players down tools, and he waffled on a wee bit about his answer to it. We don't respond well to setbacks, which is a really cute way, again, of saying, yeah, we pretty much gave up, which we did. We all have eyes. We can see it. So, yes, it was a press conference, Andrew, that surprised me a lot in terms of how spiky he was. I think for the first time, beyond the facade of Russell Martin, which is quite egotistical, it is quite arrogant, but in a confident way. I don't think it's in a bad way. I quite like it in people in a way that they're positive, but I think that was broken down today by somebody who realises he's under a hell of a lot of pressure and by a press pack that smell blood with him. Tom English pushed him a lot on Nico Raskin, as people will have seen. And yeah, he was less than convincing. So as I said, it's now been reported that he's not in the squad, and that he, in fact, in training today was by himself. So I don't think the manager's done himself many favours. That's for sure, Andrew.
Yeah, and I mean, all this stuff is going to come out anyway because Russell Martin, for whatever else he's going to say in the press conference, isn't going to be the only person who's talking to the press. Other people will be doing it as well, and other people will have contacts that are not in the press. Thank you, Kenny. If you're able to comment, why aren't you on the pod? Eh? I want to know that. From my perspective, Nico Raskin's one of our best players. I think he was one of our best players last season. We've got a squad that you could argue maybe hasn't been as strengthened as it could have been, but certainly in that squad of players, on paper at least, he's one of the strongest players I think we've got. Now, this isn't a Hamza Igamane situation where the manager has turned to Nico Raskin and asked him to come on, and he's refused to do so. As you say, Stevie, this is a player who's willing and able to play for Rangers. Him not being selected, him not even being in the squad, is baffling to me, especially for a manager who is under an enormous amount of pressure. Maybe not from the board, maybe not from the internal club, but from the fans, from the people who are paying money, from the people you're going to be asking to stump up for a European package in a few days. You're going to be under pressure for them, especially if you don't win games, and especially if you don't show that you're doing your absolute best to win games of football, and especially the one coming up this weekend. So it's bizarre to me. I've not actually spoken on any of the 1,000 or so pods that we've done over the past week. But I mean, in terms of my reflections on the Brugge game, I think it was always a game that was going to be tricky for us, difficult for us, but it's the manner of the performance and it's the manner of the defeat that's the most disappointing thing for me. Because we looked, well, put it another way, Brugge looked like they could have scored double figures if they felt up to it. And it was only really Jack Butland who kept us in that game. And that was the most damning thing, the fact that they started taking it easy on us in that second half. So we know that the Old Firm is going to be a big task. I was talking to my missus just before I came on to do this, and she was asking me, so what are the positives then? And after I said, there are none, very reluctantly, I said, maybe it's they don't look particularly great at the moment either. I mean, and that's really all we can pin our hopes on, because so far we've not seen anything really from this squad that gives us hope going into this match, Stevie.
Yeah, listen, I would love to say that we were being ultra negative. I'm not sure there's anybody in the comments or in the fan base that truly believes that we're set up to win on Sunday. Andrew, I don't even think it's because we don't have the personnel. I don't think that's right. I think we've got players in the summer. I think the players that we're signing, I think Gassama, Ant-Man, Miovski potentially coming in, the boys that we're being linked with today, I genuinely think that these players are good. Now, there's question marks over some of the players, but attacking-wise, yeah. Now, I think there's still work to be done, obviously. I think somehow we've managed to get weaker at fullback, which is extraordinary because we were not strong in the first place. So there's a lot to do.
Stevie, when we sell every single one of our left backs, even the kids, then yeah, I think we do unfortunately just naturally end up weaker there.
Yeah, but I think, in a structure is what I'm trying to get to, Andrew. In the organised structure, I think that we could actually be a decent football side. The biggest issue I've got ahead of Sunday, right, and I've said this already, so I really apologise if I'm repeating, because it seems like we could just replay this podcast from weeks ago every single night that we come on. We look like a team that's not organised. We look like a team that's easy to play against. We look like a team that creates multiple chances against, because we are. We've faced 150 odd shots. Thank Christ that Jack Butland has found his hands again. I equally am thankful, and I take pity on him, because if it wasn't for him against Brugge, it could have been 20 over two legs quite easily. And that's the biggest issue for me. Now, they've had, 2 days training tomorrow, 3 days training after that. In fact, they didn't even train yesterday. They had a team meeting. So 2 days training today and tomorrow. And then we will we will somehow try and fix that ahead of Sunday against a team, whether we like this or not, who are a good, rigid team. They know what they're doing. They're well organised. They play together. So even though they're not in form, and I think that's fair, their own fans would say that by their own admission, they've just got put out by a bunch of amateurs or the Champions League, which was equally as hilarious as it was a wee bit shocking to me. I never thought that would happen. And we've got a cheek to laugh, but we've got very little to laugh at. And they're a better side than us. So I'm sorry if that irks people, but sadly it's true. If you dink a ball over our defence, who seem to be, more or less playing as 8s and 10s these days, the higher they are up, there's going to be room in there. And Maeda has pace to burn. They signed a boy that plays off the left who is lightning quick as well. And my biggest fear, Andrew, is that we'll set up the exact same way as we did against Brugge, and it'll be like walking into a bin fire, basically. And they've got players, and I'm sorry again, like Hatate and like Callum McGregor, who know how to play this game. They know how to orchestrate games. They know how to play in midfields. And as a result, I think it will be really, really difficult for us. We would need somehow everything to come together that has not come together so far. And not only has not come together, has not looked like it's coming together. We've seen little bits and pieces of performances. Very, very little bits and pieces. At times, probably Pilsen at home, Panathinaikos at home. But every other game, you've looked ropey, you've conceded horrible goals, and you've defensively been a nightmare. How can we possibly go into Sunday and think anything otherwise? And that's the biggest issue I have. It's not that I don't believe in Rangers. It's not that I don't want Rangers to win. It's not that I everything cross for Sunday. And of course I want them to win. My biggest issue is how do they possibly turn that round in a space of 2 days and go, right, lads, stop being rubbish, etc. Because we're not pressing as a unit. We're not looking like a unit, Andrew. And the biggest issue is, what's the psychological damage of the other night also done to this group of players? So no, I'm sorry. I don't think Celtic are great, but I do think they're a good unit and they're a good side. And we, unfortunately, are not. And that's the biggest issue. If people disagree with me, then, I'm sorry, I don't mean to come on and be negative, but I just haven't seen enough to actually believe that come Sunday, Andrew, it's all going to click into place. It would be wonderful if it did, but I don't think it will. And I actually fear what's going to happen on Sunday, especially in the stands towards Russell Martin.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this plenty, Stevie, on other pods and together and offline as well, that all this manager needs to do for us is manager needs to give us something to show us that there's progress there, to see something, to say, okay, maybe this can work. We've seen nothing so far. The biggest concern for me is that players look like they've been regressing. Ant-Man's the easy example, but he comes in, no training sessions, straight into the squad, looks fantastic, has a really good opportunity, hits the bar, and then he has training sessions and gets worse and now looks like a shadow of the player that he used to be. And I mean, we've seen so many inconsistent and odd choices from the manager in terms of substitutes, in terms of gamesmanship, in terms of tactics throughout matches. It's genuinely concerning to me, because the set aside the old firm, these games do take care of themselves. We haven't looked comfortable against Dundee, against Motherwell. So if you're not even comfortable against this level of team, how on earth are you going to be comfortable against the best team in the league or against European opposition? And we've not looked good against those either. We've got 2 wins in our pocket so far in the Russell Martin regime. One of those is against Alloa, and they still managed to score 2 goals against us. So I'm not seeing a lot that's going to give me hope, unfortunately. And while we understand, hey, this club's broken, it needs a lot of work done to it, even when we had Gerrard picking up the pieces of the Warburton era, even at our lowest moments under Ali, you had something there that you could cling on to. You had, we're going to bring kids through. We're going to get old firm wins. We're going to show that we can fight. We're going to show we can compete. Not we're going to let defenses walk through us, score as many goals as they like, and just have fun. And we truly do not look like, as you say, Stevie, an organised team. We really don't. we just look like we've forgotten how to do the absolute basics, passing to each other. Every single time we tried to go over the halfway line, we ended up stopping and passing backwards in that Brugge game. And it's the same pattern of play that we've seen so often under this management team. I mean, if I could see bits where it looked like it's just a pass or two away, or it's just a move or two away from snapping into place, that'd be one thing. But we just look utterly disjointed. And like, there's no style of play that I can see that I want to see going forward, because it's just disorganized chaos at the moment. So anyway, on that fun note, we had the Europa League draw today. Under different circumstances, I'd say the draw looks eminently winnable, but these are unfortunately not normal circumstances. Let me pull up the list of teams that we've got. Roma, Brugge, Ludogorets, and Genk at home, and away trips to Porto, Fenderakos, Sturm Graz, and Baran. Now, look at that and go, there's some winnable ties in there. On paper, a couple of good glamour ties as well to Roma and Porto. But you should think that in ordinary circumstances, and especially Rangers' European travails or exploits, really, in the past few years, we should be looking to do quite well out of that run of fixtures. But at the moment, I really dread us going up against Alloa again, let alone anyone else. So what did you make of the draw, Stevie? And, what do you think our chances realistically are right now?
It feels like I'm a wee bit like a doom monger, but I seen the draw today and I liked it, and I thought, yeah, we've got a chance there. Really nice to have like a glamour tie in Rome at home, Porto away, like you said, they're the ones that jump out, and then you potentially got nice trips like Sturm Graz and stuff like that, where you would go into these games really looking forward to a European trip and thinking, well, we might be able to do something. It's not feeling like that for me at this moment in time, and I'm pretty much joked with myself at the time, well, that's 7 defeats in a final day win once Barry's back in January. And it was off the cuff joke to myself, because I don't think it'll even get to January, to be quite honest. But it's a draw, Andrew, that, even, and I'll give Philippe Clement credit, we were well drilled in Europe, and even under, McLean, we got, we were okay. I think we beat, who did we beat 1-0? Ben Davies scored against a fairly decent side at home in the Europa after PSV put us out. Somebody in the comments will tell me who it is.
If Ben Davies was playing an active role in it, I've almost certainly blanked it out because I don't want to remember
Somebody
it
in the
anymore.
comments will remind me. But Ben, we won 1-0. Betis, that's who it was. Real Betis. Thank you, Natalie and RFC. Yeah, thank you for that. And we even beat them away when we went away. We beat them 3-2, and these were all good results. And at this moment in time, we managed to beat Panathinaikos and Pilsen, which gives me some hope. But I'm just too much worried about the position we're in and how open we are, Andrew. What did somebody say the other day? A shot every 3 minutes and stuff like that. I joked today, Jack Butland was a player, so that gets released tomorrow, so I can't say anything about that at the moment because it's embargoed. But he was in with us for 17 minutes, and I joked when he left, I was like, in a Rangers game he would have faced 19 shots in that time, and it was a joke, but it's like, my word, that's unfortunately how a lot of us are feeling. So yeah, it's a nice draw. There's some good trips in there. Hopefully I'll get on one or two, maybe not at the start of them, because as you know, just starting the draw, I don't want to repeat myself, but I might not be able to go as quickly as I was going to go to Bruges this week, and it was decided as a group that we didn't want to go because we feared this. And yeah, Roma would be great. I grew up and many people, I'm sure, in the comments will remember possibly about this. Do you remember the Italia shows on the Saturday morning with a guy that used to sit at the table and read the papers and all that? And it was always all about Francesco Totti, Cassano, great Roma players, really exciting. So Roma for me is a really exciting one. Really, it's like a nostalgia trip for me somewhat. And now you see them and you just kind of think, Christ, this could be terrible. Golazo is Jai72 say they will go Lazio and all that. I loved all that. And obviously I've got a keen kind of interest in Italian football anyway. But now, Andrew, I do genuinely fear it. But Roma's the kind of game where I would say, you come on up, take a trip up London, we'll sort it, come and do the gantry and all that. But now it's like, yeah, how bad's it going to get? But it's a nice draw. There's some good ties in it. And I hope to Christ, let's think positively. Panathinaikos and Pilsen shows we can turn up, we can do it. Maybe by that point it'll be better and we'll have got sorted, because that's all we need to cling on to at this very moment in time.
I think, unfortunately, as several people in the chat have pointed out, maybe it looks a lot better with a different person in charge of the team. But unfortunately, that's the only positives I can kind of cling on to at the moment for me, because Russell Martin's not exactly engendering a lot of confidence in me for some reason. I want to give a quick shout out to, where's it gone? Oh no, Grant McRoberts, who has donated a £5. Thank you very much for that, mate. Do you think us having 2 competitive preseason matches has helped for the current shambles? And I like the draw, but only without Russell Martin. And I think, if for me, and Stevie, I welcome your opinion on this as well. I think if you're trying to implement a new system, a new style of play, as we apparently are, then you do need to have multiple games in which you communicate those ideas, in which you have the squad of players that you want around and playing in this new system and getting used to it. I think it's fair to say that the preseason was a little disjointed. We had a friendly, then European matches, then another friendly, and then that was pretty much it in terms of stuff that was played with a crowd at least. So like a realistic match as opposed to something behind closed doors. Not exactly ideal preparation, but I think you could have had the best preseason in the world. And we've had 10 competitive matches now. I haven't seen a lot of these style of play coming across, even after these matches so far, unfortunately, Stevie.
Look, I think that, first of all, Grant, thank you so much for the donation to the channel. I don't think anyone really has to do that, but we really appreciate it. There's been a lot of donations this week, so thank you everybody that has. I think that pre-season was difficult, Andrew, because he's trying to put in a whole new style, which probably needed 6 weeks of staying behind closed doors and drilling it into his squad. And likewise, he's literally trying to rip up a squad and replace it all as well, and put in an ideology that, let's be honest, it doesn't look like many are following. So yeah, I don't think pre-season has helped at all. But look, the magnitude of what he had to do was, always going to be really difficult. But the biggest issue is that, see, if we knew, right, in 2 months' time that it would click and everything would fall and flow and we would look like the team that we're supposed to look like, the team that we promised, then a lot of us might say, right, okay, short-term pain. But the biggest issue with that short-term pain is, Andrew, by the time it clicks and be good, you're out of Europa League, you're out of the League Cup to Hibs, you're too far behind in the league to even put in a proper challenge by the time it clicks. And that's not great. And then you say, but yeah, you'll be set up for next season, which is fine. But it looks like, our 4 central defenders or our 4 defenders are all going to be loanees. So you'll need to go again and reinvent the wheel and go and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think pre-season has helped at all. I do like the draw. The draw is, fairly exciting ties in it, and it's winnable. It should be winnable. That's the main thing for me. But no, I don't think pre-season has helped in the slightest. But again, Grant, thanks for the support of the channel, and thanks for the donation. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely echo that, Stevie. Folks' generosity over this past few days has been remarkable. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers as well. We might hit that before the old firm. I think we'll certainly hit it afterwards, because we'll have so many excited Celtic fans coming around to talk to us about the match. It's always lovely to get those guys around. Kenny, we're going to discuss that off air. Thank you, though. Listen, we've got some news in terms of transfers. Hamza Igamane, unsurprisingly, confirmed that he's now away to Lille for an undisclosed fee, which we understand to be in the region of about 10 million quid. Miovski has been strongly rumoured to come in. Again, I've seen various figures floating around there, 2.4 million, potentially rising to 4.2 if certain targets are hit. I believe that's ongoing, that's close to happening, but there's no confirmation as to when it will be completed, whether it's pre or post Old Firm. But as someone in another Rangers group chat, said to me, we could sign prime Messi and Ronaldo, and we still probably wouldn't be in a great shape because of the system that we're playing. So, I think Miovski's a player we probably could have signed 2 years ago, and I think that would have been a smart move for us then. Now, off the back of 2 seasons in Girona, where he scored about 4 goals and had about 13 appearances, Stevie, it's less exciting for us, but hopefully it's just a change of league and getting back to something that he's more familiar with might stand him in better stead.
I'm going to talk about Igamane first. So, Hamza Igamane, if we had bought him last summer and said we're going to sell him next summer for 10.5 million, even though it's undisclosed, I think it's quite obvious that we've been briefed that it's 10.4 million. If we had done that, right, and then signed Jeffy for 600,000 and say, by the way, you're going to sell him for 6.5, everybody would quite rightly be going, all right, that's unbelievable, brilliant news. And it is, by the way. It's exceptional business by the club. And Niels Koppen, who I took a bit of a hiding for trying to defend, this was my point over it, that he'd done really well. Cortez sunk him, unfortunately. So that's basically it for Hamza. The way he did it, I think, has left a sour taste in everybody's mouth. And that is difficult, especially for fans when we think, everybody should be, running through a brick wall and all that, and understand that completely. So £10.5 million for Hamza Igamane. All right, fair enough. It's done, dusted. Thanks for, your goals, your contribution. I really hoped he would have been our number 9. I really wanted to see him and get a chance, but it just didn't happen that way. Listen, been a bit upset with him the last couple of days about how he manoeuvred it and how he done it. But do you know what? I think that he's gone. It's a good deal for the football club. Did I want more? Yes. But I think we've recouped some really good deals for the boys this summer. It leads me to Miovski. Miovski. So it's been reported, Andrew, tonight. A boy called Philip Mishov online says that he's signed a 4-year deal, completed a medical in Paris, and officially on his way to become a Rangers player. Set to arrive in Glasgow tomorrow after being granted his UK visa and work permit. Sky Sports are reporting that's a £4.5 million deal, up front £2.5 million odd, and then the rest in installments and goals and things like that, which is great because we don't create any chances, so we'll never pay that goal installment at this rate. But in all seriousness, every single people on this chat all summer, go and get Bojan Miovski. Go and sign Bojan Miovski. He'll be an excellent player for us, and go and sign him and go and get him. So I think that we should be positive about that, like in the fact that I think people will be pleased about it, Andrew. That's what I'm trying to spit out. But myself personally, I'm still slightly worried about how that looks in this shape. But hopefully, by the way, they get him in, they get Cornelius in. Maybe they're the big things that we've been missing. A natural left-sider, a forward that with pace can score goals, can hold it up, can bring the team in. Maybe these are all things that we really, really wanted. I had my heart set on Turjaman after watching him on YouTube. Quite pathetically, I thought he was going to be the new Ronaldo. Plus, he's a wonder kid in Football Manager, which really affects my thinking about any player, really. But it wasn't to be, unfortunately. He's off to America, wish him well, blah, blah, blah. That might come round again, Andrew. You just never know in football. Bojan Miovski, I'm just hoping that he becomes a good player in this system for us and scores a few goals. He's capable. He was a good finisher at Aberdeen. He scored a lot of goals against Rangers, unsurprisingly. He scored a few against Celtic as well. So he knows where it is. And striker-wise, I think everybody would have wanted him at the start of the window. There were so many comments, as I said. So I don't know how you feel about it, Andrew. For me, I'm just hopeful that he's going to be a good signing for us. So it's certainly one that was a popular choice, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think we signed him a couple of years ago. I think it's a no-brainer for us. I think because of the context of the situation, not only his poor couple of seasons at Girona, but also the environment he's coming into at the moment. You know, this manager, this team, you know, the general mood around the club right now, that's never going to be a positive environment for anyone coming into. I think in terms of how I feel about Miovski himself, I'm excited about it because he has in spells looked like he does know where the goal is. He did get it up for the big games. Kind of, according to Aberdeen fans, struggled a bit more in what you could term the lesser games. But hey, they're all big games at Rangers, so, you know, shouldn't have a problem there. It's going to be interesting to see how well he fits into our system, whatever that is. And yeah, like you say, Stevie, it's going to come down to the chances you can create for a striker.
Can I quickly
yes.
just answer? There's a boy in the comments called Gorilla Tag 25 who's literally shouting in capital letters, Stevie, can Bojan play on Sunday? I'm not going to, I had to interrupt you, Andrew, I'm sorry, because he's shouted 3 or 4 times. Mate, we don't know yet. It needs to be the official announcement from the club, and hopefully they get it done in time. Russell Martin said today that he wasn't sure and he would just go with the squad that he has because we don't know what's going to happen. If we signed him and everything got done tomorrow and we got clearance, hopefully, but we don't know the answer to that. He's not yet officially signed. So please stop shouting in the comments. We're doing our best. And Andrew, I'm sorry, but I was really worried that the young fella there in the comments was going to have a heart attack with all those capital letters, mate.
It's Friday, man. We're just going to take it easy. If he becomes our player before the game, then maybe. It's the best answer we can give, you know.
You really want him to sign last minute on Sunday so that if he does get played, he doesn't know any tactics or training or anything like that, and he can just go straight in and do his thing.
Closer to the game, the fewer training sessions he can have, and then, you know, the better it'll be for us. Look, let's have a look at some other rumours that we've had. Derek Cornelius, which is a fantastic name, from Canada as well, has been strongly linked with us as well. I think Romano's been tweeting about it as well, so that means it's basically as good as done. But Kai has very generously pulled together all of our stats for us. I love these radars. I have no idea what they mean. I get sent these all the time, and they're like, great. But as far as I understand it, higher number, better person, better player, even. And so, you know, 12 appearances, 2 goals, 0 assists. He's a defender. I'm not expecting him to make too many goals. Great pass accuracy, which would be good because he'll be passing back and forth between him and Fernandez. Giga, I don't know. Maybe Suter if we want to change it up. It's going to be interesting. I think, again, he's one of these players who's maybe got a bit more experience. He's not 23. He's actually older than that, which is unusual for us because I think that's all we have been used to be saying. I don't know, Stevie, I don't know if you're aware of this, if it's a loan or a permanent. I suspect it's a loan because it's
mate, of course it's a loan. Right, listen, so thanks as usual to Kai Watson for the graph. I've got actual good news. Kai will be coming on the podcast. He is part of the Four Lads team now, so we're going to see Kai on the channel, which is great news for us. But what's also great news is Kai explained what this graph means to me. So 94% pass accuracy, as you can all see, 61% long ball accuracy. So he's going to be good with ball at his feet, which we need. He's 7.93 progressive passing. So he uses the ball and he goes forward, not side to side. 10.37 successful defensive actions per 90. I had to ask him what that meant because I never remember. I need a lot of interceptions, almost 6 per game as well. Good in the air, 72.86 defensive duels. And Kai, today in his message to me, said left-sided, athletic, a good defender, aerial duels 1 percentage was way better in Sweden, where he was excellent, and a much better comparison for our level. So there you go. It's been rumoured as loan and also permanent. So we just need to wait and see. Romano tweeted about this, and he is the god of transfers, as we know. Where's Stevie Clifford pajamas? So apparently, but never mind. He said that the deal was on and Rangers were looking to sign him, but he didn't mention whether it was a loan or permanent. So we just need to wait and see on that one. This boy's a good player, really good player. Very high ratings and potentially exactly what we're looking for, Andrew, on the left side, natural left-sided, which we need. And all of it kind of is promising. He's a decent player. We obviously will need to wait and see what he's like and how it works out. But, if he comes on a permanent or even a loan to buy where we make it permanent next year, then I think on paper, this looks like a good deal for Rangers. He's got, stat-wise, everything we want to see. I don't know much beyond that, but to me, it looks like a pretty decent signing. And of course, look, I want to hope that he's been scouted, and I hope that he's one of there. But you really want him to come in, like it says in the comments, and be like a Phil Hollander on the left hand side of our defence, because he was dynamite. Unfortunately for Phil, he could never really stay fit, but for us, he was Mr. Steady Eddie, always a good performer for us as well. So I would love it to be something like that. But a left-sided centre-back, we've asked for it for so long. An actual left-footer is like a godsend. A left-footer under 9, Andrew, and you barely got a smile off me. It's not right. But these are good positive signings for me.
I was distracted because someone in the chat was very concerned about how tall he is, and I can confirm from Wikipedia he's 6'2". So, again, very entertaining whenever Stevie's going to be interviewing him.
Yeah, that's like an extra person taller than me, Andrew. So,
so yeah, I mean that's it's positive news again on paper. We're going to see how it works out. The other player we've been strongly linked and rumoured with is Kenny McLean as well. Again, I think he's more of a known quantity for us, but more experience. It's probably the kind of thing we maybe should have addressed earlier in the window, but it is what we should be on paper doing, at least. It's something that I think has been lacking in terms of the players that we have brought in so far. Not a lot of experienced players, a lot of good prospects, potentially, a lot of potential talent, but someone with a bit more experience coming in.
Well, Kenny McLean is an interesting one. I like Kenny McLean, but I probably liked Kenny McLean 4 years ago. He's probably exactly what we needed. Kenny McLean in a window that you're potentially going to put Nico Raskin out of, to me, is major red flags. Joe Rothwell looks a shadow of the player that he was at Leeds last year. I thought we were getting this box-to-box energetic guy, and somehow it looks like he's running in treacle. Kenny McLean next to him is not exactly a fit. Is a fit. Kenny McLean's a really fit guy, but it's not a very energetic and a very fast midfield, and that would be a big issue for me, especially, by the way, when our midfield are practically on the edge of the opposition box behind the defenders and we just get lobbed over with one ball. That's a real concern to me. He's a leader. He's a good ball winner. He's a good tackler. He would get them organised. He'd probably be captain of the club as well if he came in, because James Tavernier would remain club captain, but on the field captain, you'd probably find that Kenny McLean could pick that up. But I would be worried, Andrew, that the time has passed for Kenny McLean at Rangers. As much as I like Kenny, and I do, by the way, I think Kenny's a cracking guy. He's a Rangers fan. He would literally walk up to Glasgow if he was given the opportunity. Rumours of a 2-year deal is very strong, but losing Nico Raskin to Joe Rothwell and Kenny McLean, I don't see going down well amongst this support. So that's a real issue for me as well. It's one to watch, isn't it? He's a lefty as well, Kenny McLean. He can play at left back. And by the way, people in the comments saying, is there a left back coming? I bloody well hope so. We need a left back, centre back, a midfielder, striker. So maybe, we've still got things coming in. But Kenny McLean's a rumour that seems to be reappearing every summer, and this time it's a 2-year deal apparently being talked about. So we just need to wait and see. I don't think it's ideally went down that well in the comments. So I'm not sure how it would go down overall. But it's a rumour, Andrew, that just won't go away. The positives, look, his experience would bring organisation. He loves the club. would hopefully, that would shine through. But the other side of it is he's I think he's 34 years old. As he's past it, we're stung as well by Graham Dorrans and Joey Barton, who come up here at this tail end of their career thinking that this would be easy. And to be fair to Graham, he took like a really horrible injury, I think, down at Kilmarnock, which kind of wiped him out. I would be really worried that Kenny McLean was coming up here in the same position. But as I said, Kenny McLean's a guy that I like as a player. I just would rather it was 4 years ago than now.
Yeah, he's been a good player, good solid player for Norwich over the past few years. Because captain the team has been captain since January, but he's older. That's always going to be the risk. And it's never exactly the paciest of players as well. I think that might be a struggle in Scotland, where you do have to have a bit of pace about you, because this game's a lot faster than people think. Even, the way that we play football at the moment, you still need to have a little bit of speed about you in order to do the work. So I think I'm inclined to agree with you, Stevie. It'd be a great signing even 2 years ago, but you're kind of thinking maybe he's just the wrong side of 30 at this point. I think he's only 33, not 34, as if that makes a massive difference. But it's all about minutes in the legs, and he's someone who's played plenty of football. So, yeah, it's a difficult one for me, because I think he does bring that experience, and I think that is something we badly need. But it would have been nicer to have him in earlier in the window, where you could have seen how well he'd work.
Andrew, I just think, see if you're binning a Belgian international, right, who, by the way, loves the club and wants to stay, I'll reiterate that, wants to be here, wants to play for the club, who is a dynamic engine in there, who is the player that we all want them to be, the ball winner. He's, by the way, Nico Raskin's not an 8. I don't care what people say. He's capable of getting forward and pitching in from corners and all that, right? But for me, Nico Raskin is a destroyer of games. He goes, wins the ball back and punts it to the next guy next to him. That's what Nico Raskin does. He's somebody that makes late runs into boxes. He's somebody that's good ironically, good in the air from corners and set pieces. Nobody seems to pick him up, and he's quite handy in there. I think doing that is where Nico Raskin is. If you take him out of this squad and sell him on for whatever, and then suddenly replace him with Joe Rothwell and Kenny McLean, major problems in our recruitment. I would say that's a big red flag. And I don't look, Kenny McLean is a Rangers fan and all that, and I don't want to be, come over bad towards Kenny McLean. He's a guy that I really like and does well for Scotland, and good on him. But I'm talking about how our fans will view that move. Nico Raskin's a fan's favourite. He's widely probably regarded as our best player, certainly last season, player of the year and stuff like that. If we bin him and bring in what will be termed as another championship jobber, and then, by the way, the Everton boy, potentially Shamati, arriving up front, who's scored a grand total of 0 goals since he arrived at Everton, people are going to lose their shit. And I think probably quite rightly. Now, Bluebells, I think, said we need to be, shining a light on recruitment. Ali done it the other night, and I think he was right. You're signing boys to play in a men's team and expecting us to qualify in the Champions League against Club Brugge, who are an excellent European side. I think you're going to really need to start thinking about that. The fans are teetering on the brink of, pitchforks, Andrew. Sunday is a real issue for me in terms of how the crowd will go. If we suddenly find ourselves with the same start against Bruges, then the chanting that you heard in Bruges will be heard at Ibrox. And the Americans are all over. Jed York, Andrew Kavanagh, Parag Marathi, everybody, and families and everything else are all over. The contingent will be there, and they will see firsthand, which is why I said the other day, I think it's misguided what we're doing here in terms of backing him. That's my biggest fear, is how toxic Sunday becomes. And the fans, if you start pushing Nico Raskin out the door, and replacing him with those players, I think you'll see a reaction. Never mind, we'll need to react. I think you will see it. So, with regards to recruitment, Andrew, there's definitely more than one red flag, that's for sure.
It comes down to the context. Like you say, Nico Raskin, I think, before this summer window started, I think folks probably assumed if he didn't sign a new contract that he would be going to greener pastures, which is fine. But if it comes in the context of, don't worry, lads, we've got Kenny McLean coming in to replace him, that doesn't look particularly exciting to fans, and especially not particularly exciting when it looks like the manager's attempted to force him out of the club as well. Because, like you said, Stevie, Nico Raskin is not injured. He wants to play for Rangers. He wants to be here. The fact that he is unlikely to be in the squad for Sunday, really concerning to me. Because, like I say at the start, this is a manager who needs to be winning football matches. Nico Raskin's one of your best opportunities to seize control of a game and win a football match. To leave him out entirely, it smacks of that arrogance. It smacks of that, thinking, no, this system will definitely come good. And we've not seen any evidence that it will, unfortunately. So we loop back round to where we started, Stevie, where we are not, I guess, overly excited about this weekend's game. But look, it's Rangers. I want this team to win. It's not a matter of, I hope we get beat so Russell Martin loses his job faster. I don't want Rangers to lose ever, especially not in the Old Firm. But the manager's got to try and put his best hand forward and try and win the game. I don't think that's a particularly unreasonable ask. And like you say, Stevie, the mood will get toxic if we come out of this match and it's a similar scoreline to what we've just experienced on Wednesday.
It is going to be. I'm really not. Andrew, do you know what? It'd be really nice. Do you know if they just didn't fuck up one of my match trips, please? Just one. You're going to just sort yourselves out and actually perform on Sunday. Try and look like you've not met 10 minutes ago in the car park and turned up and said, guys, let's just go and have a game of football. Can we just get it sorted? I would really, really, really like that. Before we go, Andrew, something quite funny happened in the chat last night. A guy called Bad Horsey said, and he just said out of the blue, I know your name, I know where you live. And I was like, what? Who's he talking about? Because it was myself, Kenny, David Hurd, and William from Hands Across the Water. And I thought this was a serious thing. I was like, what do you mean you know where we live and stuff like that? And I was like, yeah, my name's Stevie. It's on the screen every time. And he said, yeah, I'm brand new. It's just an old, repeat it in an Ulster accent and imagine Ian Paisley. Just a wee nod to your Northern Ireland guest, William. And I honestly breathed a sigh of relief. I was thinking all day, is this to do with like Liam Neeson and stuff like that? And was it to do with the accent and everything? But I couldn't get it. So yeah, I had a wee bit of a chuckle when I was reading the comments today. And what I'm getting to is just, I want to say thanks just to everybody. The last week, the support of the podcast, Andrew, is absolutely incredible. The numbers that we have watching us and the amount of support we're getting is truly incredible. As you said, we're closing in rapidly on 10,000 subs, which doesn't really mean anything, but see, to us, it's quite an achievement having just started the podcast last January with three of us, basically me, you, and Kenny. So I really appreciate everyone's support and the nice comments and stuff like that. So thank you. Thank you very much. That comment did tickle me last night. I must admit, it made me laugh and made me slightly concerned as well at the same time. But thank you really to all our members and all the comments and stuff. But we, as I said, Andrew, we podded every day this week because there's been something to say, and every time we do it, there's thousands of people watching, and I think every episode's been over 10,000 and stuff. So it's fantastic. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I say it every time. I probably repeat myself too much when I do thank you guys, but I don't think you can do that too much. We have over 500 members now paying for the YouTube. Anyone who's a member got an exclusive first look at the new Coach's Corner with Derek, talking to Andy Halliday's brother, which is very nice. I sat in and on the recording for that, and it was very interesting. His new coaching project that he's doing with Andy. Very exciting stuff. And members have got exclusive access to all of the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes. So, the documentaries, we're currently working on a new one for Jock Wallace, which is hopefully going to be out by next weekend, if I get my arse in gear and finish editing it. We've got plenty of exciting stuff there. I really I can't thank folk enough because the amount of support that people have shown us has been phenomenal. We were sitting at the start of this year, Stevie, and talking about maybe if we're lucky, we'll hit about 5,000 subscribers. We think we could do that by Christmas. To be in a position where we are 65 people subscribing away from 10,000 subscribers, which doesn't mean anything, as you say, but it's a nice round number, and it would be very exciting for us to get to that, especially in the next couple of days. So, folks, we cannot thank you enough. Over 5,000 of you watching tonight, and your generosity has been amazing. Yes,
Can I just
Stephen?
say something before we go? Just this week, we broke through 2 million YouTube views, which is incredible considering our views for the month of August is over 320,000, which is absolutely ridiculous. But it's just that it's not a boast, but a thanks to everybody, because without their support, we couldn't really do it. It's become therapy for some people, I'm told. And just in answer to GT Hume, yes, the pod, that's why I left my old job, because they told me I couldn't do it anymore, and they changed my shifts and said that they would no longer facilitate it for no reason at all. So I look forward to finding or look forward to arguing with them about that in the future in a court of law. But for now, I have a new job starting on Monday, and the pod will continue, still be on every night. It's Monday to Friday, 7 to 3. I will still be on Rangers Review once a week. Not straight away, because it is written into my contract and stuff that I'm allowed to do that once a week in the new job. They've been fantastic with me, know all about the pod and stuff. So yes, just to answer that, thank you for the question. But yes, I will still be here. So apologies for some of you if you don't like that, but we'll still be here. The pod will still run. Andrew, still live Monday night, Wednesdays, Friday, and we'll pod whenever else people want to hear from us and whenever there's something else to discuss. So day off tomorrow. Members had a new video going out today, the Coach's Corner, which is just additional content. We hope you enjoy it. Derek hosted Robbie Halliday and talking about his coaching. His brother, obviously, Andy, formerly of this parish as well. So that's a really interesting listen. And that's just a kind of nod for people just to find out about coaching and how you do it. And he's already had Kevin Thompson on and Kevin Murphy as well. So it's a really interesting season. And I hope people enjoy that as well.
Yeah. When I give a quick shout out to Bluebells Are Blue, who's just gifted 5 more subs. You've been a rock solid supporter of us, mate. So thank you very much for that. Hope folk have got a chance to grab those. That'll keep pushing the membership numbers up. We encourage you guys to like, share, and subscribe, because honestly, the pod's growing at a rapid rate, but it's all down to you guys. It's your podcast. We're just here sitting on it and doing it. So we cannot thank you guys enough. Said it before, but I'll say it again. Your support has been phenomenal for us. So thank you very much. Stevie, hopefully we're going to have something nice to talk about in the post-match after the game on Sunday. Regardless, I look forward to talking to you then, mate. We hope that everyone watching has enjoyed it. We've certainly enjoyed doing it. Thank you very much.
Cheryl and me on the gantry on Sunday, just before we go. I know Cheryl's a favourite of everyone's.
Obviously. I think it's the hair. I mean, I'm trying.
Definitely the hair, mate. It's not my hair, that's for sure.
No.
But yeah, it's me and Cheryl. I think David Haird's there for follow as well. So Davey might pod on with us as well. But we'll have the post-match reaction straight up after the game. We may well pod on Sunday night as well, depending on what time we get home and how everything works out. So yes, that is Sunday. Sorry, mate. You carry on.
That's quite all right. It's all right. I was like 2 words away from finishing the show, but cheers anyway, mate. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely Friday. And until we talk to you again, guys, bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show.